The airing of this program by this station is not an endorsement or recommendation by the station of the products or services discussed in the program. The station does not guarantee the results of any investments made by a
Preserve your family's financial future. You are live.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Word on Wealth. Today is a great day because we're going to learn all things Medicare. And to do that here on the Word on Wealth, we have our resident expert, resident meaning Southern California resident expert, Jim Robeson. So what I want you to do is make sure you have this information. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about today really blows my mind. When Jim says, hey, Gary, here's what's going on with Medicare, it usually, I can't believe the numbers that we talk about, but they're absolutely true. Two numbers you want to know, though. Phone numbers is Jim's direct line is 858-935-9120. Okay, 858-935-9120. And the way I always remember, because I can't always remember his number, but his website is The Medicare Answer Guy, all one word, themedicareanswerguy.com. Jim, welcome to the show.
Well, it's good to be back, Gary, on this bright, sunny California day.
I love it. So, Jim, I was in the introducing you. It's like sometimes I can't believe the volume that we have to deal with, and having you on the air on the Word on Wealth to try to help people sort through this is always, for me, it's always a thrill, because statistically 10,000 people enroll in Medicare for the first time every day. Is that right?
Yes, and that number is going up over the next 10 years. And it doesn't include those that also qualify for Medi-Cal, low-income people. And then finally, it doesn't include literally the hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals that are already 65, they're still working, and now they're getting ready to retire and need to enroll in Medicare.
Wow.
Hence, that's why we want to talk about navigating the chaos at Social Security office, because it literally is.
So it makes complete
one of the
sense.
Services,
if you're in this situation where you are coming up on your 65th birthday, you got to enroll 90 days before you turn 65. Before your retirement, there's stuff to do 6 weeks before. There's these deadlines that you can't miss. That's why we have Jim Robeson. It's totally understandable that at the Social Security office, there's complete chaos. Think about that. At office, they have to deal with 10,000 new cases a day. That's staggering. So, Jim, help us through this. How do we manage this chaos at the Social Security office?
well, this is one of the services that we provide, is to help our clients understand this whole process. It's literally the hardest part of transitioning to Medicare. Picking a health plan and a drug plan is easy, but getting through the chaos, and it wasn't this way before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, you could go online and enroll. You could actually walk into the office. You could call and make an appointment. You could actually call the Social Security office and they would help you enroll online. But because of the pandemic, all the offices across the United States were shut down, and they sent all of their agents home to deal with all of this. It didn't change. Still 10,000 people a day and everybody else. It just got worse and worse and worse. Now, little by little, the offices are opening up. And I'm not sure how many people came back to work for the Social Security office, because what I'm hearing from clients who can't enroll online for a number of reasons, in some cases, they don't want you walking into the office. And when you call them on the phone, they're not going to help you enroll online. They're probably going to say, we're going to put you in a queue and we'll get back to you in 3 weeks. And then we'll see if we can make an appointment, but we're not going to enroll you online or over the phone. We'll have to figure out a better way. So each office seems to have their own procedures now, which makes it it's even more complicated. So if you're turning 65, if our listeners this year, if you're turning 65 and you're not working and you're not already on Social Security, if you're already on Social Security, then the Social Security office will automatically enroll you in Part A and Part B. But if you're not one of those, you literally do need to jump on this 90 days before you turn 65. Otherwise, you could find yourself right up to your birthday. You may be losing your individual plan, your group plan, and you don't have a card yet. So, and I literally have had clients email me and call me on the phone, and I can't tell you what they tell me because they're so frustrated.
Interesting. Anytime you run into a situation like this, and this is to our listeners, anytime you run into a situation like this, I mean, we all run into it, whether it's going to be a family member, a friend, a neighbor. These are the type of frustrations that you hear about. And whether somebody's just having a bad day and you ask them what the deal is, and they go, I just tried to get to the Social Security office. I'm turning 65. I don't know what to do. That's when you call Jim Robeson. The whole idea, Jim exists in this world to help you navigate the Social Security chaos and figure out how to get enrolled and get your Medicare. And these are all different things that you only have to, you have to renew it every year. That's the one thing, but you want to get a relationship with somebody like Jim. And I recommend wholeheartedly Jim. I endorse his product. I endorse what he does. He's been doing this for a long time. He knows really what he's doing. He's the best. 858-935-9120. Jim, I did want to ask you, so with all the offices shut down and now they have their own procedures, how do we know how do we know, like, if we're going to try to figure it out on our own, which I'm not recommending, how do we know which Social Security office to even go to? Do we have to go to a specific one, or can we go to anyone we feel like?
Well, that's a very good question. And the answer is you need to go to the one that's closest to where you reside. So if you live in El Cajon, you need to go to the El Cajon Social Security office. If you live in La Mesa, you go there. If you live somewhere in Kearney Mesa, it's the one on Arrow Drive. There's one downtown. There's one in Oceanside, San Marcos. So again, all the addresses, all the phone numbers. Don't call the 1-800 number for Medicare. That'll take hours. So yes, you have to go to the one closest and cross your fingers that they'll actually answer the phone.
But before that, though, we really should be talking to you, getting you on board with our situation, and then you'll guide us through that process.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the service we provide.
See, guys, don't do this on your own. And then the next thing I'm going to ask Jim is like, well, in all of this is a fantastic service that Jim has been providing for many, many, many hundreds of clients for all these years. Well, how do we pay for this? How does Jim get paid for his services? I think the answer is fascinating, and I actually like the answer very much. You're listening to The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush and Jim Robeson. If you want to get a hold of me, it's 855-500-TRUST. When we come back, we're going to keep navigating this chaos at the Social Security office with Jim Robeson.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is The Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com. You're saving and investing for the future, and that's good. Have you ever stopped to think, where does my money actually go? This is faith-based investing with Anthony Wright.
Most Christians just don't understand that the money they save for retirement usually helps fund the abortion industry and other liberal anti-family causes. But did you know that with just a few minutes of your time, we can screen and clean your investments at no cost to you? It's absolutely complimentary. Just go to the website right now, download a free copy of my book, Faith-Based Investing. It's free as well. You deserve to know the truth as the investor. Then the choice is yours. You can keep doing what you're doing, or you can line up your investments and life savings with your beliefs. We are fiduciary investment advisors. You can feel good about investing with confidence. So learn more now. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com or call me at 931-RETIRED. Your free book is waiting for you. Go to BibleSafeInvesting.com and be sure that you listen to Faith-Based Investing this weekend right here on Family Talk.
So Gary, we've talked a long time about estate administration. So what is that? And why is it important?
Estate administration is the distribution part of estate planning. So when someone passes away and they leave money to beneficiaries, the property has to be administered. So it's like taking it from the decedent to the survivor. That's called the estate administration process. So usually you're going to have a successor trustee that's named in the trust. So have no idea what they're doing because they've never done it before. So then they call on GQ Law and we walk them step by step on how to be a successful and good successor trustee. We also do the required notifications. We notify the Department of Health Services and all the legal requirements so that they can have the estate administration done properly. We help successor trustees be successful.
Call or click to request your free consultation. GQLaw.com, 855-500-TRUST, GQLaw.com.
Tell a friend about this broadcast outreach, The Word on Wealth, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. GQ Law.
You're live.
And we are here on the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush and the Medicare Answer Guy, Jim Robeson. He's the one and only the Medicare Answer Guy. In fact, that's the name of his website. If you forget his number, go to his website, themedicareanswerguy.com. One polysyllabic word, themedicareanswerguy.com. I asked Jim to share with us, what does this cost? Because, I mean, the service we're talking about Jim providing is Medicare. There's 10,000 people every day enrolling in Medicare. The Social Security office has a piece of that. Medicare office. It's like there's so much going on that they can't stay up. And you know, during the pandemic, how many places now just, my wife and I were just talking the other day. It's like everywhere you go. Oh, well, we don't do that chopped salad anymore because of the pandemic. We're going like the pandemic, it's over, guys. Well, we don't do that product anymore. We don't do this anymore because of the pandemic. Well, think of the Social Security Department. They have to deal with it. They had so many people that just didn't even return to work because are they on unemployment? Have they been pensioned? Have they been released? Is it cheaper for them to not work anymore? So there's a lot of chaos going on, but then who's going to take it for you? Who's going to take the hit? Who's going to do your job? That's going to be Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer Guy. But then with this great service that we're all like, really, this really works that way? Ask Jim's clients. There's testimonials on his website. This really works. But Jim, what does it cost?
Well, the service is a part of what we do. If someone enrolls in a Medicare health plan using our services, I get paid by the insurance company a small commission to, again, help manage the individual health plan, the prescription drug plan, make myself available to answer questions. I actually spent 45 minutes on the phone with a client. We conference called the insurance company. She had questions about her premium, and it was just a great call. And I could just hear her in the background taking a big sigh of relief. And that's what we do. So we get paid a small commission for the insurance company. And if we do a professional job, we always ask that we would be happy to help other people that they know. And so that's how our client base grows, little by little.
Okay. I just think that that's really important to know is that, a lot of times we get confused about, okay, this really sounds really good, but this is going to cost me a whole bunch of money. It doesn't. It's all part of, your premiums don't go higher because you have an expert helping you. That's not the way it works. Everything it's the same whether you do it yourself or with Jim, but why would you try to do any of this yourself? The Medicare answer guy, 858-935-9120. I do want to
Now,
ask.
there's one caveat.
Okay.
Okay. I look at myself as an advocate coming alongside my clients. My clients have a part and I have a part. I'm not going to be able to go on to the Social Security website and enroll my client. I will help them navigate it. I'll actually show them on the website how it's done. They have to do that. And I'll let them know that if they can't go online to enroll themselves, it's probably one of two reasons. Number one, the information that they're putting into the website, their personal information, isn't the same information Social Security has in their database. And if that's the case, it'll stop you in your tracks. And unfortunately, you're going to have to deal directly with the Social Security office. Or in the case of another client whose spouse didn't qualify, she didn't have enough credits. And so because of that, she had to qualify under her husband's credit, but they had been divorced. So there's no way that she would be able to enroll online. And he wrote me a big long email saying how crazy it was dealing with Social Security because they wanted a copy of the dissolution and the marriage, all of those documents before they would enroll her. And so that's another reason. And so those are some of the areas that we can help at least front load with the client so they don't show up at the Social Security office, empty-handed. They should have everything possible so that when they sit down in front of somebody, they're going to be able to help. So we work together as a team. I do a little education, a little front loading for information, and hopefully we can get this done 90 days before you turn 65, or in the case of those that are retiring, at least 6 weeks before. So the anxiety of transitioning to Medicare, and there is some anxiety, it goes down, significantly.
Now, let me, so to review is if I'm turning 65 and I'm going to get ready to go on Social Security and get ready to start dealing with, enrolling in Medicare, I need to start that process a full 3 months before I turn 65. If I am already 65, but I'm working, so I don't need to enroll in Medicare, but now I decided I want to, and I'm, over 65, 66 years old, I need to make sure that before I actually retire and want those benefits, I need at least 6 weeks with you to get that in place so that by the time I do have this retirement date, everything's in place. Is that about right?
That is correct. Now, one word of caution.
Mm-hmm.
If our listeners are turning 65 and they want to go on Social Security and Medicare, you don't do that at the same time. Because what will happen many times is that the Social Security office will delay your enrollment in Medicare so that they can put you on Social Security first, and then they will enroll you in Medicare, maybe. So you need to separate those two things. My recommendation is get on Medicare first and then do your Social Security. Don't do it the other way around, because I've had clients say, well, I gave them all the information for Medicare and I've got 2 weeks before I turn 65. Well, they did it, flip flop.
Okay. So Medicare first.
Again, those are the things, Medicare first and then Social Security. And so those are that's the conversation I have with people when they call me. I ask them, are you on Social Security? Yes, we're on, getting Social Security. You don't have to do anything. They're automatically going to enroll you. No, we want to be on Social Security, but we also want to be on Medicare. Well, let's do Medicare first, and then you can do Social Security. So again, there are some steps and clarity in all of this.
So Jim, if I'm already 60, let's say I'm already 65, I'm still working, I'm not ready, I'm thinking about retiring, I should talk to you and figure out how to get on Medicare first, because I'm not on Social Security yet. I want to get on Medicare first and then time it out so that I get my Medicare in place. Then I can collect my Social Security and retire. That's the second step.
Correct. Now, if somebody's already 65 and they're still working and they work for more than 20 employees, hopefully they've already enrolled in Part A, because that makes it a lot simpler to enroll in Part B. If you've delayed both Part A and Part B, then you've got to go online. You've got to fill out a form that's a little bit more complicated. So if somebody calls me and say, well, I'm turning 65 in June, but I'm still going to work probably for another year. I tell them, okay, go ahead and enroll online for just Part A. Get your card, get in the system. And then when it comes time to retire, give me a call 6 weeks before. I've got the forms that you need to fill out, because there's an employer form that you need to have your HR department complete, because Social Security, all they know is you turned 65, but you never enrolled in Part A and Part B. Well, you were still working. So this form verifies that you were on your employer health plan and you're not going to pay a penalty. So again, there are some steps. So if our listeners are turning 65, but they'll continue to work and they work for a company over 20 employees, I encourage you to go ahead and enroll in just Part A. There's no premium for Part A. You've already paid for it for the last 10 years, 40 quarters. And you'll get your little red, white, and blue card. And there'll be one step to enroll in Part B when it's time to retire.
Okay, so so I'm not retired. I'm 65. Get my blue card, or my red, white, and blue card. So I'll go ahead and enroll in Part A, and then I've kind of taken that first step. Then when I retired, that's when I got to figure out Social Security Part B, and by then I might got to call you before. Of course, I'm going to call you in about 9 months when I'm 3 months before 65. I'm going to be calling Jim and going, Jim, help me through this. Even though you've told me how this works about 6 times, I can't ever remember it all, because the subtleties, the nuances, like crazy.
And by that time, everything's going to change again, Gary.
Yeah.
So one of the ways I stay in touch with clients is a newsletter that we send out that kind of updates people on Social Security and Medicare. And so, yeah, it's
2 minutes.
Now, how do we get your newsletter? Is that something that's available for our listeners?
Yes. If they go to my website, the MedicareAnswerGuide.com, there's a place to request the newsletter, or you can call the office and leave a message, and they'll send me an email, and we'll put you on the list. We'll stay in touch.
Okay. So
because it's very, very fluid. It's very fluid. we're going to be fast coming up to open enrollment here in, what is it, March 6th, in 6 months. And again, that's the crazy part. And I can tell you that a lot of people are retiring early. They're being let go, get the pink slip. And of course, that's very stressful. And if you're still not on Medicare, again, we're here to help. Jump through all the hoops with Social Security, the Medicare health plan that fits your financial needs and your health wellness. And that's why we're here.
All right, Jim. I always really enjoy having you on. I wish we could do it more often, like every day, so I can understand this stuff. As Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer Guy, that's his website. Get your free newsletter. I mean, if you're even close to getting to 65, get the newsletter so at least you can have that. You got to grease the skids on this stuff, guys, because when it happens, it's quick. You're trying to get ready to retire. You're turning 65. You're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, am I seriously that? Is this really happening to me? Make sure you got Jim's website, the Medicare Answer Guy. Make sure you got his phone number, 858-935-9120, the Medicare Answer Guy. Jim, as always, thank you very much for helping our clients. We really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, Gary. All
All
right, buddy. Have a good week.
Thank you. You too, Jim. All right, guys, the MedicareAnswerGuy.com. Always a pleasure to have on. Coming up next, we're going to have a little review, and then I'm going to talk about some questions, some cases of the week.
You don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to find answers you can trust when you need them. Welcome to the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush. We're here to help you build, protect, and transfer everything you've worked hard for with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary and the team at gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST. You're not alone. Ask for the legal help you need. Call Gary and the team at GQ Law, 855-500-TRUST, or go online and download Gary's free ebooks and videos. Read Gary's blogs. Call or click to request your free consultation or to talk with a member of the GQ team. That's gqlaw.com, 855-500-TRUST.
Welcome back to the Word on Wealth, everybody. We had Jim Robeson, the Medicare Answer Guy, telling us all about Medicare. I always love having him on our Mondays show. Jim knows everything, anything with Medicare. If you're getting old enough, you're going to qualify for Medicare soon. If it's a year from 65, doesn't matter. Give Jim a call. Go to themedicareanswerguy.com. All right. what I am doing. So what I got some questions that were asked of me. They're kind of detailed, but I think we can deal with this. So I'm going to read the question. And part of it you can kind of see from the question that some of these things are complicated and we don't understand the language, but I am going to make an attempt to do these answers. Okay. So this question, somebody submitted a question. They said, where should a family start the probate process? All right. Family member, let's see, family members of a recently deceased person are trying to figure out where they should start the probate process. They don't know if their loved one had a will or a trust. They don't know where all their loved ones' bank accounts, retirement accounts, and properties are or were. It's going to be a long and painful journey, and any pointers will be super helpful. Okay, that's not a question, that's a statement, but that's okay. The question is, where should a family start the probate process? Okay, if we don't know whether there was a will or a trust that existed, I think the first step in this process is figure that out, because the probate process, when you start it, you don't stop it. The probate process is where you have a will or you have no will. And either the will is trying to do distributions, right? Because the will says, when I die, give my money here and here and here and to this person and that person. If there's no will, then we have to look at the case law and the code and that tells us when a person dies without a will, do the following: A, B, C, D. Okay, so where should a family start the probate process? Do not start the probate process. Do not file a probate petition saying, hey, judge, there's no will. What do we do? You don't want to do that. You want to try and find it. What I suggest is go into the decedent's house and look on all the places where it would be kind of obvious. Like, look on bookshelves. Is there a folder that looks funky or out of place? Is there a binder? Like, if it was done by my office, you'd be able to find a blue 3-ring binder. If it were 10 years ago, it'd be a white one, but a 3-ring binder, it'll say like Quackenbush Family Trust on the spine. So something like that. Some people put them on their bookshelf so that it would be easier to find. The other place to look is in file cabinets. Go through the files and see if you can find something that says my estate plan, my trust, or something. And yes, do a general scan to see if it's easy, see if it's labeled, and then go page by page. The other thing is you can look in a closet or something to see if there is a family safe or a firebox or something that might have important papers. Once you have scoured the house and can't find a will or a trust, then you probably are going to have to go to probate court. Okay, where do you file the probate petition? The probate petition gets filed in either the place where the person died or the place where the majority of the assets are. If they're the same place, easy. But what if your dad has a home and he has a bank account, and that was in San Diego, but he ended up moving up to Riverside County to spend out the rest of his days living with, family members like a daughter or something like that? Where would the probate be filed? I would typically file it in San Diego because that's where the property is to be dealt with. And that would be totally appropriate. Now, if there is no will and we're now filing a probate, we have to determine who is going to be the one that can act as the administrator of the probate petition. Whoever the person is would actually file the probate petition saying this person died without a will, therefore they are intestate, and I want to be the administrator of the estate. And then there's got to be a reason for it. I want to be the administrator because I'm a child of that person, because I'm their pastor, because he asked me to do it before he died, because I'm the brother, I'm the sister, I'm the mother. You have to put down the reason why you believe that you qualify for being the administrator of the estate. Okay, now when you file that petition, it gets filed in the local probate court. I'm suggesting in San Diego for the case that we're talking about now. And it says basically, I, John, want to be the administrator of the estate. That's all you're asking for. There is no will. What the court's going to make absolutely sure that you do is notify every single person in the family. If there are kids, if there are stepkids, if there's an ex-spouse, Anybody that seems like they would have maybe some interest in the property would need to be notified. And the court has a specific way. We look in the code to see who needs to be notified. And we know it's children, we know it's spouses. And as long as there's all the children are alive that we know of, then we don't have to go further. We don't have to notify like grandkids or anything like that, unless there's a deceased child and the next in line is a grandchild. Then we would name, list them as a recipient getting notification from the probate court documents that are being filed. Okay, so once that petition is filed, everybody has the ability to oppose it. If they don't oppose it by the hearing, which is going to come up within the next 2 months, then the court can give an order saying, okay, we are confirming that this particular person that's petitioning, that they become the administrator of the estate and that they can do it and move forward with the case. And the next step is going to be for the judge to issue an order and issue what are called letters of administration. That gives this new administrator person, the person that stepped up to do the job, that gives them the authority, kind of like a power of attorney, gives them the authority then to go and find bank accounts, to find real property, to sell it, to open a bank account in the name of the estate, name of the person that died in their estate. Will get it. They get a tax ID number from the Internal Revenue Service. They open an account and they start putting money in there from sale of personal property. Bank accounts that are open, we move them. All that stuff gets put into one account. Okay, now the thing to be to watch for too is the next step. Once you have the letters of administration and you can do all that, then you're going to have that bank account. We got to start getting ready for what's called an inventory. The inventory is a document that we file with the court that indicates exactly what is in the estate. And the inventory gets appraised by a probate referee. Funny names, right? The referee, beep, beep, beep. They don't have a black and white shirt on. They are referees. They're some of them have been attorneys. Sometimes they just are accountants. Sometimes they're tax professionals, financial professionals. They can be any walk of life, any career basically can get you into being a probate referee. It's something that you apply for. The probate referee is the one that's going to determine the value of things. And then you move forward with the petition process to get everything. Now, if there is a administrator and there's cash, like there's a retirement account with 100,000 and a bank account with 50,000 or something like that, that administrator is going to have to qualify for a bond, which is like insurance to guarantee that that administrator performs their duties, gives the money where it's supposed to go, to the heirs or to the children, and that they do it right without cheating, without stealing any money. Because the bonding company, if something is wrong, if one of the beneficiaries makes a claim and says, hey, that administrator guy, yeah, he ripped us off. He took a lot of money out. He spent money on himself and he's driving a brand new car with our money. Well, if he really did steal the money, then the bonding company would actually pay the beneficiaries and then go after to recover the bond. They'd go after the administrator that was appointed. And, that stuff's illegal, guys. I mean, you can't get away with that without having some severe penalty. So watch out for that. Now, if you do find, and if you need help with this, this is my baby. This is what I do. 855-500-TRUST. You're dealing with somebody's estate. You don't know where to start things. You don't know how to do the probate petition. Do not do legal work in probate court by yourself. A judge is going to say, look, you don't know what you're doing. I'm sorry. You're a nice person, but you don't have any idea what you're doing. Do not mess with somebody else's money and be incompetent or incapable of doing it. Hire a worthy attorney that knows what they're doing. I'm happy to be that attorney. 855-500-TRUST. Okay. Next step, I said we do an inventory. We figure out everything that's in the estate. We get it appraised. We file it with the court, and then we wait another 2 or 3 months and file a final petition saying, here's the accounting, here's everything that happened, here's the money that was spent, here's the money that's sitting in this bank account, and here's where it's going to be paid when the case is closed. And that process then is going to be the final petition that you file. That final petition, when you file it, the court's going to give you a hearing, say, okay, thank you very much. You did it. You got it in with the, after the 4 months have passed already, come back in 2 or 3 months and we'll have a hearing. And if things work out, we can give you an order to distribute. So probate takes a long time with or without a will. But that's where you start the probate process. Okay. The next question that came up, so I think this is a very interesting one. It says, if my husband and I are listed on the deed, but husband only puts his daughter in the trust, will she get the house? That's a good question, but there's more to the question that I'm going to answer when we come back. So we're going to be talking about husband listing the house and putting daughter. We're going to go into the inheritance things a little bit here on the Word on Wealth. Call me 855-500-TRUST, and I'll help you out with any of this stuff. This is Gary Quackenbush, the Word on Wealth.
You've got questions. We've got answers. This is the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Gary's here to give you peace of mind with expert estate planning, trust administration, inheritance, and probate. Call Gary to build, protect, and transfer your wealth. 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
I don't think you're doing it intentionally, but
Well, with Gary Quackenbush of GQ Law. Call or click to request your free initial consultation or to talk with a member of the team. Call Gary at 855-500-TRUST. GQlaw.com.
you are live.
Right. Okay. The question here on the Word on Wealth with Gary Quackenbush is, do you need any help with anything to do with estate planning, wills, trust, power of attorneys, incapacity? That's me, GQ Law. 855-500-TRUST. 855-500-TRUST. Just memorize that number. Easy pleasy. Okay. Here's the next question. I know these take a while to answer, and I'm not trying to get off into the weeds. I'm just trying to explain some of these questions because they're just not really simple, easy pleasy ones. But so here's the next question. If my husband and I are listed on the deed, but he only puts his daughter in the trust, will she get the house? Okay, so then it's more of an explanation. My husband used his inheritance to buy a house, which both of our names are on. He wants to only put his daughter on the living trust, so she will get the house if anything happens to him. Does that mean she gets the house and I don't get anything? You got to look at this one, man. Okay, if he bought the house with his own inheritance, that's his separate property. Transferring it to a trust does not change the character of that property, depending on what the trust says. Now, most trusts will say that transferring property into that trust does not change the character of the property. So if it's separate property going into the trust, it is separate property while it's in the trust. And if it gets pulled out of the trust, it goes back to separate property. Okay, so whether it's community property or separate property, quasi-community, or a combination, the character, the nature, the quasi-community property, the community property, the separate property nature of that property, that asset does not change by transferring it into the trust. The trust isn't a title holder thing. The trust is like an instruction book. Okay. So in this case, he inherited the house, bought it with his inherited money. No, I'm sorry. He inherited money, bought a house, but then he put both names on the deed to the house and transferred it to the trust. Okay. I think under California law, the house belongs to both of them because he transferred that house to he and his wife before they put it in the trust. Now he puts it into the trust. And if it really is in her name and his name, then she would have had to sign the deed and he would have had to sign that same deed to transfer the house to the trust. So if both of you sign that deed, that means it was considered joint property, which in California is going to be community property, and you transfer it to the trust. It's no longer separate property. If he wants to only put his daughter on the trust and then he wants daughter to get the house after he dies, well, because it's a joint property, he's not going to be able to deed unless you sign the trust saying it's okay. If it says when we both die, daughter gets the property, that's totally fine. If he wants to make sure that daughter gets that property after both of you are dead, then what you would do is on the first death, whoever died first, well, no, let's say, because we're worried about getting it to husband's daughter. So if we have husband dies first, the trust becomes unchangeable. And the unchangeable trust says when they're both dead, the house goes to daughter. Okay. So you want both people in the couple, husband and wife, to have a trust that becomes irrevocable on death, on the first death. And that the result at the end of the day, the distribution, like if it says the house goes to the daughter of the husband, you want that to happen, but you can only make it happen if they're irrevocable trusts. Okay. So the big challenge in this is, what do you do if husband dies and now he wants to give the house to his daughter? Like now, that means his wife will not have a place to stay. Or his wife will be at the mercy of the daughter saying, oh, that's okay. I love my stepmom. You can go ahead and live in my house for as long as you want. Just don't mess it up. I don't know how often that happens, but it's not very often because I've never heard of it. Usually it's like, you're now living in my house and I love you and I'm going to be careful. I'm going to take care of you. In 6 months, I want you out because I'm going to sell the house because I want this money so I can put it in my retirement account. Okay. So if we're trying to resolve this and say that husband bought the house with inherited money, transferred it to husband and wife. Okay. That was the first thing that made it so there's now joint property. And then joint property transfers it to a joint trust. That joint trust is going to control. And even if he says this trust is irrevocable on the first person to die, all that really means it is irrevocable, unchangeable, the half of the decedent to the decedent. Okay. So the decedent's half is irrevocable. Even though you said the whole entire trust is irrevocable, fine. The surviving spouse can still pull out her separate share, her half of the community. So in this case, husband transferred the house to he and wife and then put it in the trust. If the trust became irrevocable on husband's death, wife could still pull half out. And you can't prevent that because it's her property. She can, even if you both agree that it's irrevocable, the one that's alive can pull out their share. So in this case, if it's a joint property or community property, she gets to pull out her half of the community and her separate. Okay, so don't be fooled by irrevocable. It means irrevocable for certain purposes, like irrevocable as to the decedent's half of the stuff, which would be half of the property. It's still revocable, even though it says it's irrevocable. It is still revocable with the surviving spouse's half or share or whatever of the property. So be careful with that. In going back to that question, if they agree and they both sign a trust, a deed, a deal that says on the husband's death, her husband's daughter gets the property, that's going to be really tricky, because if it's in both names before it went into the trust and then husband dies, if wife says, forget this mess, I'm not going to agree to that, she could pull her half of the house out. If you want to make it so it really goes to the surviving or the decedent's daughter, you got to keep the house separate property, or else it'll come back out. Okay, good questions. All right, now I want to answer one more question. And of course, this is one of those that I think is really cool, because I ask this question a lot regarding an ongoing business. If you have questions on this stuff, this applies to you. If you want to set up a living trust, let me do it for you. 855-500-TRUST. 855-500-TRUST. My team is awesome. We usually have a 2-week turnaround. That's our target for everything. We get that 99% of the time. We can get it within 2 weeks. If we need to go faster, we can, depending on the week. But it just depends on how many things we got going at the time. But call us, don't wait till it's too late. Don't wait till you go on vacation and the whole time you're going, oh my gosh, I can't do that zip line because what if it crashes? I don't have my estate plan in order. I know it's kind of a funny way to think, but we probably shouldn't go on that, that high risk adventure, because what if I die? I don't have my estate in order and I'm going to leave my family in a lurch. Don't suffer that way. Get it done. You can get it done in a couple of weeks. 855-500-TRUST. Tell us about this show. Tell us how it went. Get your trust. 855-500-TRUST. Can an ongoing business be transferred to a testamentary trust? Okay, now here is the fill-up of the question, the final part. I've just gone through the probate process in California, where the will contained a testamentary trust. The deceased had some business when she died, which were supposed to go into the trust. Can this be done? And if so, what are the steps? Okay, so the testamentary trust is created by a will. And the will would say, when I die, I want all my property to be held in trust for the benefit of, and it has to have trust language. So a testamentary trust is going to have almost identical language to a regular living trust, except it doesn't get read or doesn't come alive until the person dies, because there's a will, and the will says, when I die, all my property goes into my testamentary trust, which is created by this instrument. And here's what the trust terms and conditions are. And then it recites out the whole terms of a living trust, except it's called a testamentary trust because the will is the thing that declares the trust. And the will doesn't have any force or effect until you are DEAD. Okay. Once you have DIED, once you've died, if you have a will that says my property goes into my trust and the trust goes and gets paid to my children, then that is a testamentary trust. So you will be going through probate, and then the probate will be of the trust. So the probate puts all the property in the trust, and then the trust is going to pay the property out. So you get the trust and you get a probate. That just sounds like an attorney's dream. It sounds like a beneficiary's nightmare. Don't do testamentary trust. But if you did, and the business is in this testamentary trust that was set up, which is the question this guy's asking. So yeah, you can transfer the business. If it's a corporation, the corporation will go into the trust through a probate procedure, and then the beneficiary can receive the trust as their inheritance. They own the corporation. They can now do whatever they want. They can sell it. They can move it. So that's a business. The other would be if you go through probate to put the business into the trust, that can happen too. And then the beneficiary can receive the business, or that they can sell the business in the trust and take the cash. So those are both ways it can be done. So ongoing business can be transferred and it can be shut down, but best way, put it in a corporation, have the stock owned by your trust. This is Gary Quackenbush on the Word on Wealth. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Right up, Word on Wealth.
Tell a friend about the Word on Wealth, featured since 1995, with financial solutions attorney Gary Quackenbush, an expert in estate planning, wills and trusts, and tax problem solving. Gary is past president of the California Society of Tax Consultants. Reach out to us. The Word on Wealth team of financial experts is here to answer your questions and help preserve your family's financial future. The information you hear on the Word on Wealth is for general information purposes only. This program discusses general financial and legal topics. Seek legal advice from a competent lawyer for your individual legal needs. The opinions expressed here do not necessarily represent the views of Salem Media Group or its sponsors. The Word on Wealth with Gary Quacken.
Thank you, my dude.
Wealth Radio Network.